So this is SHLL stock or HYLN. It'll change ticker soon. This is another SPAC pipe acquisition, public, well, not a public offering. So let me talk about the company first. This is Hyliion or Hyliion with two eyes. Yeah, Hyliion. And so they're trying to manufacture semi trucks, but not the whole trucks. Like they're making basically the skateboard for the trucks, which is electric batteries and then a generator. So it's basically it's basically like a hybrid electric kind of skateboard for semi trucks, um, which sounds very similar to what Tesla was trying to do when they first started. They had sort of the electric kind of car basic basic structure that they were going to use for everything, and that completely failed. They had to redesign everything from scratch. Yeah, so that this company is very very similar to Nikola Motors in a lot of ways. Like this is coming public in the same way that Nikola came public, which is a SPAC, special purpose acquisition company. So this is an it's really funny, SHLL, so like a shell company or something. But this is a company that doesn't. It's a fake company designed to buy a real company. So this company is public and they're trading, but they don't have any products or anything. They're looking for a company to merge with, and then the the company Hyliion is a private company that is planning on manufacturing these electric skateboards for semi trucks, and so the the public company merges with this company, and then basically it's just kind of a very accelerated way to have a company go public. And what you have is you have initial investors in this acquisition company that get in at a super low share price, less than $10. I don't know what the price is, and then you have pipe investors, which is a private investment into public equity, right? And so this is where the pipe investors come in. And so on the merger, they got $325 million of pipe investors that came in on the merger. So now you have the owner of the companies have equity, and the investors in the private acquisition company have equity, right? And then the pipe investors come in with another 32.5 million shares, and they came in at $10 a share. So this is really important, where the pipe investors came in. So the pipe investors get in at $10 a share, expecting the thing to trade higher than 10. And so now it's going public, and you'll see the ticker change from SHLL. It's still SHLL to HYLN, and that should happen. I think that should happen this week. Um, but yeah, so this is a huge chunk of investors that got in basically before it went public at $10. And so those are a ton of people that can sell underneath as this thing goes up. And that's what I was talking about last week with Nikola. Is it's trading it's trading way above where the pipe investors came in on that one, and that one's like a crazy one that it doesn't usually happen like that. But here you can see it's already trading above where the pipe investors came in. But the pipe investors are not allowed to sell for a period of time. It's usually like 2 months, and so I couldn't find that the expiration on these pipe agreements, but it's usually 2 months, and then once they can start selling, you know, if they sell anything above 10, they can make a profit. And so there's a risk that they'll sell and put downward pressure on the stock later. But it should be stable for the stock trading now, and now it's kind of going public to public investors. So that is sort of the that's sort of the new way for a company to go public, and it's also kind of well, it's kind of It's early. So, I mean, the general way that companies go public is they create products and they get investors and they do a product, an IPO and get public investors. And so companies usually actually are manufacturing stuff. But these companies really just have an idea of what they want to build. Like they don't have manufacturing, they don't have products, they have, like models and stuff like that and pamphlets. Um, and so this is the same thing with Nikola. They don't have anything. They don't have manufacturing. There's no infrastructure at all for any of their fuels. Like they don't have any actual vehicles. There's no infrastructure for maintenance or anything like that on their vehicles. It's not even a real company yet. It's like an idea of a company they want to build, but it's already public. And it's similar here. Um, and these guys are saying they have a ton of infrastructure because there's already, I mean, they can do diesel, which obviously you can get. And then they have a huge map of where you could get natural gas if you're using natural gas with the electric skateboards. And like, yeah, there are places to get natural gas. If you go actually click on all the places, it's not like they're fueling stations. They're just like, natural gas places that sell canisters of gas and stuff like that. So the infrastructure that they're claiming they have for natural gas isn't exactly set up for this, but you can get natural gas already. Yeah, um, so I mean they're claiming there's better infrastructure and that they can use different fuels to go along with their skateboards, and so they don't have any any products yet, and this company's not even creating the whole truck like Nikola is talking about. Like they're just creating one component that other companies could use to build trucks with. So yeah, as far as infrastructure and maintenance goes, there's not much in place. I mean, you can get some of those fuels, although the natural gas industry in America is completely unprofitable right now. Like that's the whole fracking industry that is in so much trouble because the oil prices are low. Um, yeah, so this is just a way too early, SPAC pipe kind of coming onto the market before this company is even a real company, basically. And yeah, so there's plenty there's plenty of risk here. There's plenty of risk, especially with the entire, economy being unprofitable and everything like that. But for right now, nobody cares about fundamentals. Everyone knows the fundamentals are terrible, and the stocks go up anyway. And so this one could definitely do that. There's not much of a technical pattern on this one yet. It's just kind of come out. It's just kind of come out here, and yeah, just keep in mind this $10 level where all the pipe investors came in is sort of like an area to sell down to later in a couple of months if it starts to move down. This is where this is where a bunch of investors could try to take profits above 10. And yeah, I mean, who knows? This thing probably will trade up. We'll probably trade up for a while. There's plenty of hype on this thing. We'll see what the general market does. But yeah, I just wanted to explain the structure of this thing. And yeah, their company really it doesn't. They don't have any other companies that are buying their stuff or even talking nothing. They don't have anything. They don't have any partners that are actually trying to build vehicles with their thing. They're just trying to create a product that they could potentially sell to people that want to build something like that. So, um, yeah, so it's really early. I mean, I don't know how many years it would take for this company to turn into an actual company that has other companies buying these things from them and manufacturing anything. There's nothing. There's no manufacturing. There's no infrastructure for this. There's just the fuels for the generators. Like you can buy the diesel easily for those models, and natural gas. There's some infrastructure, but not really for this. Not really. Not like they're trying to say there is. And then and then hydrogen. If they try to go to hydrogen, there's no infrastructure for that. Um, just like with Nikola. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. I mean, this is trending up right now. So we'll see it. We'll see if this gets kind of a bull market kind of trend line or something like that. And that could be if it sets up a support line, that could be a line to trade off of for the next. Well, I wish I could see the date that the pipe agreement expires, because then it kind of changes where there's a ton of shares that are able to be sold into the into the stock. But it should hold for at least a month. The price should be stable. These guys aren't allowed to sell for a while. It's usually a month or two on the pipes, and it looks like we might be setting up an angle where it could maybe do a bull market support. We don't have enough action yet really to see, but yeah, that's the structure of a special acquisition company, which is a public company that merges with a private company to make that private company go public. And then when they merge, they get a pile of investors, the pipe investors, which are able to get in at a cheaper price right before it goes public, and they can't sell for a little while. And so that's the same thing. That's the same thing as Nikola, same thing here. And so as a very long-term investment, this company hasn't proven anything, and they're not profitable or anything like that. I mean, they're hardly a company yet. Like, this is super early, and this is a high price for a company that doesn't make anything. Like real car companies are like Ford and stuff. They're trading in $20 to $40 range, and they actually make vehicles and they have manufacturing and stuff like that. These companies don't even have anything. Uh, this is just nonsense. So, I mean, I don't think it's like a scam, but this is the new way that companies are kind of coming onto the market before they're even really companies. And so this is a thing to look out for, and it's important to know the price that the pipe people came in on. Now let's take a look at Nikola. Oh yeah, and then let's see. I don't think there's anything. I think this ticker will just switch over to the other one. I don't think it's going to do both. Yeah, the HYLN ticker is not live yet, but that should be live soon. I don't know the day it's supposed to do that, but it should switch over. I think by next week it should be trading on that one. Yeah, here's Nikola. So it's still driving up. Yeah, so on Nikola, the pipe investors came in at 10, and then they started issuing warrants around this area, which is their new shares that it's like an option that you can exercise later. And so the pipes became tradable on the 20th, so this week. And so we're looking this week to see if there's going to be downward pressure, because now people that are holding the warrants can exercise them and sell shares, and now all the pipe investors that are holding at 10 on Nikola can exercise. Um, but this has started to swing up, so I was looking at this being sort of a descending kind of wedge shape, and it's trending up now. So this will be really interesting to see how Nikola trades as sort of a model for how these kind of companies come on the market. So you get, the initial people in at super cheap, and then the merger with pipe investors that come in, and it's the same, like $10. And then here, Nikola started issuing warrants, and the warrants were trading. The warrants were trading in here for 35, while the stock was trading out here for like 95, which is pretty crazy. And so you see the warrants trade up and the stock kind of trade down. And now we're in the zone where people can exercise their warrants and sell. The pipe investors can sell if they want to. And so now the stock is in who knows what's about to happen area. But as far as the Hyliion stock, we're just doing the merger, and this is just the pipe investors. Like, they haven't started issuing any kind of warrants or anything like that, but I imagine they'll do a similar thing. And so it's good to see how well. I mean, Nikola is just kind of stealing some brand recognition away from Tesla with their name, and this company is not quite doing that. Uh, But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this thing goes crazy buzzy, and it should be at least a month or two before all the shares are really tradable and the thing kind of adjusts to the price, to its non well, all these structural things where you have the initial investors, then the pipe investors, then the warrant investors, then public investors, and then at some point everything is tradable and it'll trade to wherever it's kind of really going to start from. Like this is all fake crazy activity until everything sort of settles out. Now let's check out the market and see what's going on today. So this is some early pre-market stuff. We're not getting this is like overnight kind of. It's not even pre-market yet. And so yesterday we put in a really big red candle and just right in this zone, just still right in the zone, and kind of bounced off the bottom of the zone this time. Yeah, so when we got back here, we failed to get out and set up a bullish kind of breakout setup. And now so far we failed to kind of get out and set up any kind of a bearish move. And today should be interesting as far as the news goes. We're supposed to get a GDP number pretty early today. The IMF came out with a kind of negative report, I guess, on the economy. And there's a little bit more virus stuff in the news, but there's really not too much going on until this GDP number comes out, and that should be a real thing that people, who knows, it's going to be a bad number, but people know it's going to be a bad number, so I don't know how crazy it is. And then early we just have the currency pairs trading. So this this just looks like a flat. This does look like a bearish. This does look like a bearish setup to me. This looks like a flat, probably expanded a little bit, so maybe a wave slightly above here, and we should be getting around. We should see the shape of this thing probably before open. And so an expanded flat, you just come in, you get like the little 123 123 hill, and then you get a little 5 wave up, and that's just a normal flat shape for a continuation. It's not always just like a flat like that, but it does just look like a simple flat at the moment. So we'll see if we get just a normal Elliott kind of flat move here, which would do another wave down. But if we do a wave down from here, there's just some serious targets to deal with. I mean, you have to get out of this thing, and you're immediately in the range of this long-term moving average. And this average has been the huge deal for the last couple of weeks, where we're waving all around it and bouncing off it and breaking and shooting off of it. And so if we do get down near this thing, we can expect some craziness to go on, and that could happen today if we get another move down. But as for right now, we are well. Let's flip through the momentum and see what the momentum looks like. We're just kind of right back in the range, and so yeah, it's diverging a little bit. So it's the momentum is getting slightly more bearish, but we're still up here in bull territory on the month-to-month kind of look. And this is not a steep enough move to be a really bearish move. Like these lines need to diverge farther. Like see how far they were diverged here? And it was pulling it up, or how diverged they were here. And these are still pretty close together. And so it's a little bearish move from bull territory, but it's relatively neutral right now. And yeah, that's bearish. It's wide, and it's kind of leveling off. So it's becoming less bearish, but we're in bear territory with a pretty wide divergence, headed farther into bear territory. Yeah, that candle yesterday really pushed stuff down. And then you can see here it's kind of neutralizing, and it's trying to come back up which, this is like the hourly, like just looking at what's happening right now. But so it's trying to make a move up here. Just looking at the action for today, the momentum, it is in bear territory. And so if the momentum levels off and you do any kind of swinging around in bear territory, that's going to be red stuff on the actual chart. And so there's a pretty high probability of getting some red candles today. The bullish momentum will need to get all the way back up here and then stay up there in order to get more green candles on the chart. So this is a short-term bearish momentum kind of position, but it's not making a bearish move right now. So this is a tiny bullish reaction to a bearish, short-term bearish chart. So that's over the next, like 2 days or something. It's in bear territory. And so that makes it more likely to see kind of a bearish continuation. And just getting like right down on the action now, coming into pre-market. It's trying to get back to a neutral area, but we have a bunch of bearish swinging on the short-term charts here, and you can see it just working its way down as all this bear side activity happens. And so we'll see if this can get onto the bullish side for kind of opening today or not. If this turns over and stays on the bearish side, then that would look like a bearish kind of setup for the next couple of days. And then I'll have to watch the long-term chart to see what that looks like. And then we're getting, some currency pairs kind of action here. And the dollar, the dollar did a swinging sort of consolidation reversal here. And it has been in a super wobbly uptrend. So this uptrend is not, it's not the kind of dollar strength for like a stock crash or something like that, but this is a bearish general trend at the moment for the market, for the dollar to be just trending up. And so there's this moving average kind of overhead here as a target, I suppose, where it could get weaker again if it's going to make another weak move. So yeah, it kind of held here, and it looks bearish. The dollar's bearish, but it's not like ripping like it did, during the huge sell-off. Nothing like that. And the yen is getting stronger, which is kind of an opposite signal. So the yen's been interesting because it has led the down movements of the stock market twice now. This was the big down candle that we got. Well, whenever it was. Yeah, so here's the S&P laid over the top so you can see the timeline. But you can see the yen made a big down move prior to the S&P dropping. And it was a pretty good indicator of this down move. And then same thing here. It's put in a down red candle right at the peak of the S&P twice now. And today it's going up, so that's not bearish. Looks like the yen is just kind of chilling out. So we just have some pretty weak bearish momentum today, in kind of a neutral spot, and really not much of an indication of which direction it wants to go. But just on the charts, there's a lot more support below where it is now, and there's plenty of room to move up with very little resistance from the top as far as trading levels go. Because underneath we have this. Oh, I still have the S&P on top of the S&P. It predicts it perfectly. Yeah, so we have this zone that we've been wobbling around in, and so we're at the bottom edge of this range, with really strong support underneath if we break down, and then another huge long-term bull market support trend line just below that. So there's some serious targets for the bears to break here, and then plenty of room in here for the bulls to wobble around. And as we've been seeing, the bullish movement is just kind of grinds up, and then the bearish movement drops across and grinds up. That's pretty normal for the bullish movement to be slower than the bearish movement. Um, so yeah, the momentum is still bearish, and the technicals look pretty bearish as far as like Elliott waves go, but the support levels here are major. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what, I don't know. It doesn't really set up well for like a huge move down, because it has to really fight through a bunch of crazy stuff here. But we'll see if it tries to do that today with the little bit of bearish momentum that it has, or if it'll just hold like right in this zone again, and we'll just have another couple boring days of stuff in here. Yeah, so that's kind of the pre-market. Not a whole lot of craziness. But yeah, anyway, with those with the pipe and the SPAC kind of setups, I mean, I guess trading them just kind of for fun, speculative is one thing, but just understanding how those companies are structured and how they don't actually have products or customers yet. They're not even real companies yet. And then how most of the investors have come in before it came on the market, and then the retail investors are paying a premium, to get in at the price at where it is now. But that doesn't mean it won't go up more. It certainly can. It just means there's a lot of people that got in much cheaper before it came public, and that's sort of the new way that things are coming onto the market. And I think that's an added level of risk if you're the fourth tier of people coming in. Like, you get the acquisition company investors, then the pipe investors, and then the warrant people, and then the public people start coming in. And it's the most risky and the worst deal, I guess, spot to come into one of those things. So be careful if it's a long-term buy and hold thing. Just understand the structure and the risk of the thing. But as far as day trading, we'll see if it sets up a chart that looks interesting for day trading. Right now, it's just coming on and wobbling, the Hyliion stock, and Nikola will be a cool one to look at, sort of to see how those kind of those SPAC acquisition pipe kind of things sort of trade out in today's nonsense market where fundamentals don't matter. And on the there's not really much of an update on the liquidity front. I haven't seen anything about the Fed. The Fed balance sheet is still coming down, and the Treasury general account is still going up. And so that should be less liquidity for the general market, and that should be a bearish liquidity kind of setup at the moment right now. So the main thing that I am doing right now is I just have a long volatility position, and this is not a good spot to get into a long volatility position where we're kind of at the lower edge of a range. But I think that's kind of the easiest way to kind of get a short position on all the craziness, and you don't have to try to pick which sectors are going to move around and things like that. So if we take a look at the Qs, in terms of like the market actually making a down move, the Qs are going to actually need to make a down move for the whole market to come down. And this is, led by the big stocks that are still doing buybacks. And we've seen a crazy, crazy chart. And people are wondering if this thing is going to turn around, and it hasn't yet. It's just kind of hanging out. So, I mean, for this to get an actual kind of bearish setup, it needs to kind of break down here and get a back test and a bearish move. So it definitely hasn't broken down to the point where like a technical analysis trader would consider it like a negative market for sure. And this thing has had positive momentum like crazy. So so yeah, this thing is still leading the market, and we are seeing like the small caps and the XLF getting pretty weak, and so they've just been kind of trending down and looking weak, and so people are rotating back out. Oh, the financials came down a lot. Oh, that's interesting. Um, so these are looking really bearish, and these are the sectors that can't really do stock buybacks, and so the general market is sort of stalling out, but the sectors that actually have exposure to the fundamentals, where the low interest rates are really bad for financials and the solvency risks are really bad for like the IWMs, the Russell 2000 small cap stocks, and those have been in a in an ugly trend. Um, so that's kind of a thing to look at. I don't know if it's really possible for the Qs to keep going up while these go down. I think they're going to have to line up with each other, and we're in kind of a weird spot where they're sort of diverging right now. Um, yeah, I've seen people say that the divergence like that could be signaling a top. And that's what I've kind of been looking for, the reversal points to try to get ahead of a next trend. But the macro theories, about dollar short squeezes and about a deflationary scenario and things like that, like the fundamentals for those haven't shaped up. Like the movement of the dollar index and the movement of the bond index haven't really indicated we're in that sort of a scenario yet. We're still just in kind of crazy land right now. Yeah, Tesla, I forgot I was going to take a look at this. Yeah, so Tesla has had a pretty interesting chart here, where it had this kind of squeeze into this kind of wedge here where it was really coiling hard, and it just blasted out of the top here. And now it's getting a very similar shape to the Qs. It just got this pull down and this kind of top. But Tesla is kind of leading down. So I think Tesla versus the Qs in general is kind of an interesting thing to look at. Let's go through the momentum on Tesla and see. Yeah, I mean, this chart's insanely bullish up here. Um, but it's chilling a little, I guess. But this is crazy bull territory. It's entirely possible for it to flip over and move like all the way down here. But it's not like in a trend like that at the moment. The blue line needs to flip across and diverge and pull this thing all the way down to the bear side of the chart. And this is on the weekly, so this is a pretty long term look. But I mean, obviously, this is pretty bullish kind of stuff here. And this kind of support line, we're above it. So I mean, as a downward target on a bull move, I mean, you still have room to come down and continue moving up with this kind of a support here. And so for bearish, you got to break this thing, get down, and then maybe this line is still means something. Probably not. Like we've kind of coiled and blasted out past this downtrend line here, but definitely need to get below this and start moving down to get into more of a bearish setup. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like right now, it's starting to turn down. And so this. We'll see if the momentum actually picks up and starts making a real move. Like it's hinting that it might want to make a bear move, and this is a decent sized red candlestick shaping up, but it hasn't actually picked up enough momentum to be like a big bearish move. Um, but yeah, like this is getting wide enough on the hourlies. Like for this week, it's still on the bull side of the chart, but this is enough momentum to get to the bearish side of the chart for you know, the next week or something. And let's see how it's coming into today, like shorter. Yeah, so it's actually pushing into a bearish area and then kind of chilling on the bearish side. So the longer term momentum is still bullish and the shorter term momentum is getting bearish here. So this could get more of a continuation down. Yeah, so this pushed pretty far into the bear territory on the short term. Let's go to like 15 minutes. Yeah, that's pretty bearish. All right, so yeah, so that's a thing to kind of watch is if it's getting bearish momentum swings, and then as it's working down, the volatility is important because if it makes a down move on super high volatility, quite often that's going to get a reaction back the other direction. But if it just keeps working down with bearish momentum on low vol, then that's kind of a trend that can continue. And we haven't gotten crazy vol. It's pretty low now. I mean, the closing candle is a little bit of volume, but if you see a volume candle like shoot up and you see a big bearish move, um, that could be more of an indicator of a bounce. So that's kind of the thing to look for. Does it stay bearish and wobbly and low volume? If it does that, then it can just work its way down a little bit over the next week or something. But it is bearish momentum coming into today. So yeah, I expect actually Tesla to come down a little bit more on that momentum. So I guess going over everything, it looks like just some weak bearish stuff today, which probably would just kind of do some more. Probably is just going to do some more stuff like this. It doesn't look like this move up is reversing the bearish momentum at the moment, and it doesn't look like the momentum is getting crazy right now. So that's what I'm kind of expecting is just some more some more stuff kind of to stay down here. That's what I'm thinking based on the stuff that we have pre-market. But the GDP number is going to be coming out, and so I'll put a video out when we get that. That should be a really important news blast. And then the balance sheets, I don't think they'll be coming out today, but that's the actual news, not the stupid news. Like the balance sheets tell you the actual liquidity that's available to the market. And right now the liquidity looks like it's decreasing. And so if it continues to decrease more, that'll be a real actual signal. Yeah, so this is not trading advice. Happy trading, and be careful with your pipe investments. Coming in at the fourth stage of that, where you're the most expensive one, on a risky company that doesn't even have products yet. Definitely a different a different type of fundamentals and things like that. I don't think that Warren Buffett will be buying Nikola and Hyliion this week. Yeah, happy trading.